So better if everybody go on mute. Okay. Yeah. Today we are going to discuss about data types. So very, very important thing. So here I am going to cover what is the purpose of each data type, and we can go in depth in later on classes. Okay. So data type. So first I will give you the technical definition, then we can explore it. Okay. So data type represents the type of data that's being stored in a variable or assigned to a variable. Okay. So we already discussed its dynamically typed language. So during runtime, based on the value we assign, it's going to determine the type of the variable. Okay. So here, let's see, like how to say, we can consider some examples and then we can go ahead. For example, you have in registers somewhere like in computers as well, we have to store student information, right? We have to store student information. For example, student name. So in student name, we can see all alphabetics, right? So it's one type. Then we can store a student age. It's one type where 20 to 18, something like that. It's numbers. And then when it's come to date of like a date of birth, it's going to have some date kind of date related information. Okay. So like that, we have different types of data. So to represent each kind of like now we discuss no, to represent name we have to use all the alphabetics. To represent age we have to use numeric data. To represent date of birth we have to represent it in the format of date, month, year. So each kind of data has some different format. So it's we can consider it as type. Okay, alphabetics, numbers. In general we can say like this, but when it's come to computer language, we can represent each type in some different way. For example, when it's come to numbers, age we are representing in numbers, right? So we are going to represent it in programming language as numeric type. Again, in numeric type, we have integers where we are not at all going to have any decimals. For example, your age, you can say like 24, 23, 22 like that, but you can't tell 24.5, 23.2 like that. And in the same way, if you want to represent your salary, you can say like in some decimals, might be. There might be some decimals, so you can represent in decimals. So there is some format. In the same way, when it's come to programming language, a numeric type, we can split into integers. So there won't be any decimals. Then floating point numbers, where we can have the decimals. Okay. And alphabetics, we can represent alphabetics as string. Okay. Alphanumeric also we can represent as string. Okay. So like that, and sometimes we have to represent true or false. For example, you want to check some conditions, right? If a equals to b, you have a value of 10 in a and value of 20 in b. You want to compare the both, and whenever you do comparison, you are going to get like yes or no only, right? So those things we are representing as true or false. So that is one of the type we can say. And sometimes we don't want to store any type of data in a variable. That thing we can consider as none. And if you want to still now we are like storing single value in single variable. If you want to store multiple values, then you we have came up with a list, tuple, and then set, dictionary, range. So like that we have different things, different types of data types are there. We can discuss one by one. Okay, clear? Like what is a data type? Is it clear?
Yeah.
In simple words, we can say data type represents a type of data that being stored in a variable and assigned to a variable. Okay. Now let's see the first and foremost method. So int is common in every data type, sorry, in every programming language. And then we have float. Float is one of the data type. And then complex is there. In every programming language, we can see this complex type. I will explain it. In mathematics, we have this complex in the format of a plus bj. So this is complex data type. So that is also there in Python. And then we have Boolean. Okay, Boolean is nothing but it's going to have only two types. One is true and one is false. Only two values it's going to have. And then we have the string type. Okay, and then we have a range is there, but it's a kind of different function. I will explain it in later on classes, but for now we can include it. Range, and then we have a list, and then we have a tuple, and then we have a set, then we have dictionary. Okay, and finally we have none type. Okay, none means empty. Okay, so these are the major data types that we are going to use in Python. Okay, so in few interviews I experienced a question. Uh, the data type that doesn't support in Python, that supports in Java and in other languages, but one data type is there which doesn't support in Python. That is character type, char. If you see in C, C++ or Java languages, we have this char type. So char type means in char type we are going to store a single alphabetic or a single numeric in single quotes. For example, so this is a character type. In if you wrap anything in double quotes or single quotes, it's like a kind of a string or character type. Okay, so if you have only single character, then it is char type in other programming languages, but that doesn't support in Python. Even if you store single character, it's going to consider it as a string. That is the only data type that doesn't support in Python. Okay, clear? Yes, am I clear?
Clear, Mamta.
Can you repeat it again about
So
why it is why character is not supporting in Python?
there is no any specific reason. So I am telling, even if you store a single character, Python going to represent it as a string. Normally, in other languages, if you store any single character or single numeric in single quotes or double quotes, it's going to consider it as character type, char type. But
Okay,
Python doesn't has that type, and even if you store single or n number of characters, it's going to consider it as string type only. Okay.
okay, okay, yeah,
They are not at all going to ask you reason. They will ask what is the type that doesn't support in Python and how it's going to consider. Even if you store single character, it's going to consider it as string. That's a simple answer.
oh,
I
got
too
it.
don't know the reason. Maybe the syntax, the person who developed Python, they developed in such kind of way. That's why. Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Now we have to start with integers. So integer is one of the data type. It comes under numeric. It's going to consider the digits from 0 to 9. Okay. Any combination you can have 100, 1000, some blah blah. But you shouldn't consider any alphabetics or any special characters. Only integers. It should contain the digits from 0 to 9. Combination of digits from 0 to 9. That is integer type. And it's not at all going to have any decimal point. No decimal point. Okay. And then we have float type. Okay. Float type is also one of the numeric type, but it's going to have decimal point. We have to represent the data in this format 100.1, 45.6. So something like your percentages might be in this decimals, no? If you want to represent them, you can represent using this float type. If you have this decimal point, even if you won't give anything after dot, 100 dot, also it's going to consider as float because you mentioned the dot decimal point. That is float. Okay. Then we have this complex in mathematics. I think we saw like a real part, imaginary part. So it's combination of a plus bj. A we are calling as real part, b we are calling as imaginary part. Okay, so this is complex type. I still now I didn't use this complex type anywhere, but we have it in Python. Okay, something like 0 plus ij, we can say 0 plus 1j, sorry. So 0 is your real part, 1 is your imaginary part. Okay, so this is a complex type we have in Python. In other languages also we have this complex type. And then Boolean. Okay, I already told you. Is for yes or no answers. If it is yes, we are considering it true, and if it is false, we are considering it as sorry. If it is no, we are considering it as no. So you have to compare two values that I already told you. A equals to B. If A equals to B, you want to check. If you check A equals to B, then it will print. If both the values are equal, it will print true. If both values are not equal, it will print false for you. So such kind of like checking yes or no kind of data. Okay, and then we have a string wrapping up of data inside double quotes or single quotes. We are going to call it as string type. So either you can use two double quotes or you can use two single quotes. Okay, you can have anything. Even if you have at the rate, it will consider it as string only. Even if you have all the numbers, it will consider a string only because you wrap them inside double quotes or single quotes. So anything that inside single quotes or double quotes, we are going to consider it as a string type. Okay. We have range. For example, you want to access the data from 1 to 100 or 1 to 10, 20 to 30 or 5 to 10. Like that, you are specifying the range from where to where you want. So that is range type. Okay, in deep depth we can discuss it later, but for now it's going to have a starting and end, like starting point and ending point. It's going to include the data between that, including starting point. It won't include the end point. It will include start point along with the data between the start point to end point. Okay, and then list. Still the string type, we saw assigning only one character, one value to one variable. For example, A is equals to 100 you can do, or B is equals to string type Python you can do, or C is equals to 2 you can do. So here you are assigning one value to one variable. But my requirement is I have to store multiple values using one variable. Multiple values using one variable. This is where this list tuple set dictionary came into picture. Using one variable, we can assign, we can store multiple values. Okay, let us discuss what is the difference between each of these four types. Okay, so here syntactically they are different. You can use these two brackets, square brackets that represent as a list, and you can store any type of data. There is no any specific criteria to store only this kind of data, like only integers you have to store or only strings you have to store. So there is no any such kind of thing. You can store heterogeneous data. I think you the guys heard about homogeneous and heterogeneous. Homogeneous in the sense all elements should be of same type, means all integers, all strings, all floats, like that. Heterogeneous means combination of different types of data. You can have integers, you can have floats, you can have complex, you can have boolean, you can have string, anything. It's of different types of data. Okay, and one major thing comes here. Okay, I will after explaining all these four, I will explain that is also very important. That is a main difference for all these four things. For now, I will show them syntactically how they are different. Okay, tuple. Same. Tuple is also used to store or assign multiple values to a single variable. See here we are going to use this uh, normal brackets, braces. Okay. Same. Here you can store heterogeneous data. Any type of data you can store. Okay. But you have to use this braces. And if you want to if you want to store single value, that as well you can do like this. So this is how storing single variable in a list. But when it's come to tuple, if you want to store a single variable, okay, if you do like this, it won't work. It will consider it as a single variable, single value. It won't give you it as a tuple. You can try it later. You can check, you can give something like a is equals to this thing and check type of a, then it's going to give you some integer or float, whatever you give based on the value assigned. It's going to give you the type, but not the tuple. If you want to store a single variable, a single value in tuple, you have to give comma after that. Then only it's going to consider it as a tuple type. I'm explaining all the things. You have to execute in code and try. Okay. You can use the type method to check the type of data. Okay. And then set. Okay. Here one major difference come. You can duplicate the values here. You can duplicate the values here. In list or tuple, if you want to duplicate the values, that's allowed. Okay, you can duplicate the values in list and tuple. But when it's come to set, set is collection of unique elements. Set is collection of unique elements. And you can represent it in curly brackets. 10, 30, 20. Again, if you like, you gave 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, right? If you print that set, if you assign to some variable and if you print that set, the output will be 10, 30, 20. It will remove the duplicates. It will remove the duplicates in backend. And one more thing is, list is ordered type. Tuple also ordered type. When it's come to set, it is unordered. Both I will explain at end, okay? Remember, list is order, tuple is order, set is unordered. Dictionary, let us discuss dictionary. So dictionary, everybody aware of English dictionary, right? And any dictionary is going to contain word and it's going to contain the meaning. In the same way, in Python, a dictionary is collection of key value pairs. You are going to have key and you are going to have value assigned to it. Each key value pair you can separate with comma and each key value you can separate with colon. Like, and key should be unique. You shouldn't duplicate the keys. A colon. So A is my key. I am assigning value of 100 to it and I am creating key 10. Any type of key you can create. And here I am assigning Python and 56.7 is my key and I am giving some value to this. So see here for set as well you are using curly brackets. For dictionary as you are using curly brackets. But the difference is here you have single values but when it's come to dictionary it's storing key value pairs. Okay. And then none type. So it's any, there won't be any data. Your variable, if you give a equals to NONE, there won't be any data. It's going to return you any empty. Okay. These are the types of data. Now let's see what is unordered, what is unordered. And along with that, the major differences. Few things are mutable types and few things are immutable types. Very important. What is the difference between mutable and immutable? Very important question. Okay, let us discuss. Let me open my Visual Studio Code. As yesterday we installed it. Okay, let me go to my file. Okay, so first I will just give you an example for integers. If you print type of a, it will give you class int. Sorry. Our command is py or Python. Then our file name test.py. Just run it. It's telling class int. Okay. If you give some decimal, you are after decimal you are not giving anything. Just you give decimal, and if you type, it's giving type of float. You can have some 09 as well, and run it again. Again, it will tell you it as float. Okay. And if you wrap the same thing inside double quotes or single quotes, it will tell you it as its class type of str. Okay. Now, if you store true, these true or false values, true or false, these are keywords. And in true, T should be capital. In false, F should be capital. Okay, they are reserved keywords. Save it, run it. So it's telling class Boolean. And if you store 1 plus 8j, save it, run it, it will tell it as complex. Okay. Now our actual thing came into picture. So to comment any line, we are going to use hash. So comments are like a non-executable code. It's for user understanding. Or if you want to comment anything, you can use hash so that in front of that line so that it won't execute that code. Python interpreter not at all going to execute the comments. It's non-executable code. In any language, comments are non-executable code. Now, let's have a look at list. So for creating list, I already told you we have to use square brackets. Inside that, you can store any kind of data. Okay. Now, I told you list is ordered. Order type. List is ordered data type. Means what? Let's see. Ordered data type means the data in which order you stored, you can access in the same way. For example, if you stored at 23, it is the first one, first place, and it's Manasa second, 67.8, third element. If you give after this, if you give anything, so that will be fourth element, like that. And if you want to access them, we can access the data using index. Okay, to access the elements. So if you print first, let's see type of L. If you run it, it's let me clear the list and see. It's telling class list. And if you print L, it's going to print you all the elements. See, whole list it printed. But I want to access specific element. For example, I want to access 23. Okay, where 23 stored in first position. Okay, so using index, we can access the data. Okay, but in Python, index starts with 0. Index starts with 0 means 23. If you want to access 23, you have to use the index of 0. If you want to access Manasa, you have to use index of 1. So I am telling it starts with 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and the index operator is square brackets. And this is the index operator. Now, if you do print L index of 0, see, I'm using after I'm specifying my variable name. After that, I'm giving the index operator, that is square bracket. Inside that, I mentioned the index for the value that I want to access. Save it, run it. Now you can see 23 because index is 0. So in 0th position, I have 23. Now if I give index of 2, what it will print? You can answer now. Index of 2.
67.8.
Because its index is 2. 0, 1, 2. Okay. Now just save. Let us save and run it. See, it's giving 67.8. I gave 4. Can I get the output if I give 4? Do I have any data with 4 index?
No.
So the last index is 3. At that time, it's gonna throw you an error list index out of range. Because I don't have any element with fourth index, my index ended with 3. I'm trying to access the index beyond the one that exists. Now, if you try, it's true. Sorry, I didn't save it. Let me save and let me run. See, it's telling index error and list index out of range. This is what ordered type. So, in whichever order you insert the data, you can access it using index. In the same order, in whichever order you inserted, in the same order, you can access it. This is order type. And here one more important concept is there, that is positive indexing and negative indexing. Very important. Positive indexing and negative indexing. Still now whatever we saw, this is positive indexing. Positive indexing start with 0. So it's access from left to right. Okay. In any other languages, we don't have this negative indexing. Python has this advantage. Negative indexing. Negative indexing access data from right to left. Okay, right to left, and the index start with -1. Okay, now my right side is this one, 98. For 98, -1 will be there. For 67.8, -2. For Manasa, -3. For 23, it's -4. Clear? Positive indexing starts from 0. Negative
Clear,
indexing
Manasa.
starts from -1. You can access the elements in reverse order. Now, if you give -1, it will give you 98. So, you can access the elements in two ways, using positive indexing and using negative indexing. Okay. Now, if I give -3, what will be the output?
Manasa.
Manasa.
Yeah. And if you give -5,
Out of range, I think.
yes, definitely. However, positive in list index out of range works same frame. I have the last element with -4 in case of negative indexing. I don't have any data with -5. That's why it's going to throw you list index out of range error. Okay, so this is order type. Then we have tuple. We have tuple. So this is also used to store multiple data, means multiple values. As I told you, if you want to store single element, just try once. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now if you yeah, print type of T, comma, you can have two things here. Type of T1. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I didn't save. Okay, let me comment it out because I have list index out of range, right? Let me save. That's why it didn't go further. Now see, one is list of tuple and one is int. If you give 0.8, it will tell float. See, class float. So if you want to store single variable in a tuple, you have to specify comma. Now if you try, it's going to tell both as tuple type. Clear how to store single variable in tuple?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. Yeah. So here one important thing is, so I can I will explain you what it is, and we can see the methods that applicable and later. So list is mutable and a tuple is immutable. Mutable means we can modify the data inside the list. Means you can add the data, you can delete the data, you can update the data. When it's come to immutable, once you have the data, you can't modify it. You can't perform any operations on that. For example, if you want to add extra data to this list, we have different methods. For now, I will just show you one method. L dot append. You want to add new data. For adding new data, you can use append. So you can give some data and later on print L. You can check before adding and after adding. Print L. Now run it. See, first time before adding the data, there is no 58784, but after adding the data, you can see 58784. Means you are able to modify the data that being stored. That's why we are calling it as mutable type. We can modify the data. But when it's come to tuple, we can't modify the data. There are even no methods to modify it. If you want to give a try, okay, you can do like t dot append. You can try any method. There is no t dot append, t dot add, anything. Tuple dot doing anything and print t. It's gonna throw an error for us. What it's telling? Attribute error. Tuple object has no attribute append. You can try with t dot add anything you can try, but it's not at all going to accept because tuple is immutable. Very important question. What is the difference between list and tuple? Syntax difference is there. Along with that, the major difference between list and tuple list is mutable, means we can modify the data. When it's come to tuple is immutable. Once you enter the data, we can't modify. Okay. And when we are going to discuss in depth, I will explain you the scenarios where we can use this list and tuple. For now, is it clear? I explain you positive indexing, negative indexing, very important. And then ordered, I explained. Now I will explain unordered as well. And then mutable and immutable, very important. Clear?
Yeah, sister. Clear.
Yeah. Now we can see set. So we said set we are going to use curly brackets and just a second. Okay. So in set, I already told you it won't accept duplicates. In list and tuple, you can have the duplicates, but in set, you can't have the duplicates. First, to check the type of S, and then we can check. Just clear the screen. Arey yaar, what happened? Okay, this. To comment it. See, it's telling class set. And I gave the duplicates, right? Now, if you print S, it's giving 56, 10, 34. 10 it removed. But if you see the order that I inserted, it didn't print in the same order. If you see for a list or tuple, in whichever order you inserted the data, it's going to print in the same order. Just check, save it, run again. See, 23 minus a 67.890. So in whichever order I inserted, I can see for list. Same for tuple as well. But when it's come to set, it's not giving the data in whichever order I inserted it because set is unordered data type. And if you want to access the individual elements from set, you can use looping only. Without looping, we can't access single elements from set because it's unordered. There is no any order to access the data. It is collection of unordered data elements and unique data. Clear? What is ordered and what is unordered? If it is ordered, we can access it by indexing. But if it is unordered, we can't access it by using indexing. You inserted data in one format, it's going to change its format again and again. Data order, it's going to change. Elements order, it's going to change each and every time. That is set is unordered data. Clear?
Yeah, sister. Clear.
Okay. Then we have dictionary. I'm left with the dictionary and none I will just show you. If you store A is equals to NONE. NONE is also a keyword. Now if you print type of A, it's telling it's none type. And if you print A, there won't be any data. It will tell just NA. You don't want to store any data. You just simply want to left it empty. Then you can use none. Okay. And the next data type is dictionary. That is the final thing I'm left with. Let me copy it from here because I already created. Okay. So here, if I want to access the value of Python, I have to use the key. I have to use the key. In list and tuple, we used indexes one. Same, like whatever positive indexing and negative indexing applied in list, the same thing applicable to tuple as well. You can try it. Okay, I showed you on list, right? You can try it on tuple. There we used indexes starting from 0 to access the values. Here we have to use the keys to access the values that associated with. So same indexing operator is a square bracket, right? The same thing you have to use here. First, let us check the type of D. It's telling it's type of dictionary. And if you want to access Python, what is the key associated for value Python? It's 10, right? D index of index operator, and you have to specify the key. Run it, it's telling Python. Okay. Now, if you want to access 100, what is the key associated with 100? Hello.
A
Yeah, just give
with
it, save it, run it, it's telling 100. So this is how you can access the values that associated with the keys. Using keys, you can access the values. If you try with the key that doesn't exist, it's gonna throw you key error because I don't have any key with name B in my dictionary. So it's going to throw you key error. In case of list and tuple, it will throw you list index out of range or tuple index out of range. When it's come to dictionary, we are accessing the data using keys, right? So it will throw you key error if the key doesn't exist. Clear, guys? It is
yeah, sister,
also
clear.
suitable type. You can add dictionaries. You can add a new key value pair. You can update an existing key value pair. So that is there. When we are going to discuss dictionary in depth, we can see all those methods. Clear, and class also going to end in within a minute. I think just 30 to 20 seconds might left. Anybody have any doubt? If you have any doubts, you can rejoin again so that I can clear your doubts. Can I open the bridge again?